There was an old woman in China who had supported a monk for over 20 years. She had built a little hut for him and fed him while he was meditating. Finally, she wondered just what progress he had made in all this time. To find out, she obtained the help of a girl rich in desire. "Go and embrace him," she told her, and then asked him suddenly, "What now?" The girl called upon the monk and, without much ado, caressed him, asking him what he was going to do about it. "An old tree grows on a cold rock in winter," replied the monk somewhat poetically. "Nowhere is there any warmth," the girl returned and related what he had said. "To think I fed that fellow for 20 years, exclaimed the old woman in anger. "He showed no consideration for your need, no disposition to explain your condition. He need not have responded to passion, but at least he could have evidenced some compassion." She at once went to the hut of the monk and burned it down. Let's dive deeper into what each line of this story means, what the main lesson is, and how the lesson applies to our everyday life. The main lesson from this story is that true wisdom and spiritual growth are not just about detaching from desires or emotions. They must include genuine compassion for others. Cold, empty detachment without heart is worthless. Real enlightenment, or personal maturity, shows up in how you treat people, especially when they are struggling or reaching out. Now let's walk through the story slowly, line by line, to see exactly how the story unfolds. There was an old woman in China who had supported a monk for over 20 years. She had built a little hut for him and fed him while he was meditating. This sets up 20 years of selfless giving. The woman is not just donating money. She's investing her time, energy, and hope that the monk is becoming a better, wiser human being. It shows real commitment and expectation. Finally, she wondered just what progress he had made in all this time. She is curious. She wants proof that her sacrifice actually mattered. This is the turning point where she decides to test him instead of blindly believing he is holy. To find out, she obtained the help of a girl rich in desire. "Go and embrace him," she told her, and then asked him suddenly, "What now?" The test is clever and fair. The girl is rich in desire, full of normal human longing, so the monk can't dismiss her as just a test. The question, "What now?" forces him to respond in the moment, not with prepared religious talk. The girl called upon the monk and without much ado caressed him, asking him what he was going to do about it. No long speeches, just raw human contact. This moment strips away any fake holiness and asks, "Can you meet another person where they actually are?" An old tree grows on a cold rock in winter. Nowhere is there any warmth. I'm beyond desire. My heart is like a frozen tree. Nothing moves me, replied the monk somewhat poetically. Initially, his answer sounds deep and zen-like. But notice the imagery. Cold, rock, winter. There is zero life, zero warmth, zero connection. The girl returned and related what he had said. Simply report, no exaggeration. The evidence is clear. "To think I fed that fellow for 20 years, exclaimed the old woman in anger. "He showed no consideration for your need, no disposition to explain your condition. He need not have responded to passion, but at least he could have evidenced some compassion." Here is the heart of the lesson. The old woman is not upset that he stayed celibate. She never asked him to break his vows. She's furious that he showed zero empathy. He could have gently said something like, "I see you are suffering. How can I help you through this feeling?" Instead, he gave her poetic ice. Compassion does not mean giving in to desire. It means caring enough to meet the other person's pain with kindness. She at once went to the hut of the monk and burned it down. The ending is dramatic on purpose. Burning the hut is her way of saying, your so-called enlightenment is worthless. It's a strong symbol. False progress gets destroyed. So the deeper message is this: meditation, knowledge, or spiritual detachment by itself can actually make a person colder and more self-centered if compassion is missing. The monk thought he had reached the highest state, but he had only reached emotional numbness. The old woman understood that real spiritual growth makes you more human, not less. Let's see how this applies to daily life. Think about times when someone seems above it all, but actually just seems to not care. A coworker who knows every rule and procedure perfectly, yet never helps a new employee who is overwhelmed and stressed. They are detached from office drama, but they also never show basic kindness. A friend who has worked through their own past heartbreak so thoroughly that they now tell you, "Just get over it," when you are crying over a breakup. They sound wise, but they are actually refusing to empathize with your experience. A parent who meditates every morning and talks about inner peace, but never asks their teenager how school or friendships are really going because they are above emotional drama. In each case, the person may look calm and enlightened on the outside, but they are acting like the monk. Cold, rock, no warmth. The story reminds us that the real test of growth isn't how unmoved you are by life, it's how kindly you respond when life touches someone else. The lesson we carry into every day is simple but powerful. Stay calm inside so you don't get swept away by every feeling, but never let that calmness turn into coldness. True maturity and wisdom always leave room for compassion. When you can do both, keep your balance and still care deeply, you have passed the real test. The old woman felt that after 20 years of feeding and taking care of someone, she deserved to see some kind of warmth. We all do.